4:12 a.m. You're jolted awake by the low, mechanical hum of a siren. Outside, streetlights flicker. Inside, your phone buzzes with an emergency alert. Nuclear threat detected. Seek immediate shelter. The first question that hits you isn't, "Is this real?" It's, "Am I in the strike zone?" The year is 2025, and the global map of nuclear targets is not what it was during the Cold War. Military analysts from Stratfor, the BBC, and Jane's Defense Weekly have confirmed that certain cities once considered low risk are now high priority. Why? Because war planning isn't static. Technology changes. Politics change. And with them, the bullseye on the map shifts. Most people imagine nuclear targets as just capital cities or major military bases. That's only part of the truth. Strategic targets are chosen based on the damage they can inflict on an enemy's ability to fight back. And that goes far beyond political centers, ports that keep goods flowing, communication hubs that control information, strategic manufacturing sites that produce weapons, vehicles, or critical infrastructure. A city that houses a key satellite control station or a fuel refinery might be worth more to a strike planner than a symbolic landmark. If you live near a port city, a major airport, a power grid hub, or a defense manufacturing plant, you may already be in the shadow of a high-priority target. Even if your city has never been mentioned in headlines, it could be marked on classified strike maps for its strategic value. And the unsettling part? Those maps aren't public. You won't find them in a quick Google search, but you can work out your risk with a little bit of knowledge. Think of your location in terms of its connectivity. How many major highways lead in and out? Does it have rail lines, shipping lanes, or pipelines? The more of these it has, the more important it is to the functioning of your nation, and the more likely it is to be targeted in a major conflict. Even small towns that happen to host a satellite uplink station or serve as a crossroads for power lines can find themselves on a planner AS radar. Understanding this is not about fear, it's about awareness. If you know what makes a location strategically valuable, you can make better decisions about whether to stay, relocate, or prepare in place. And that's the difference between being caught off guard and staying one step ahead. Now that you understand how target zones are chosen, it's time to look at what's changed in the most recent updates to U.S. and NATO strike assessments. Over the past year, satellite imagery, missile range tests, and shifting alliances have redrawn the invisible lines of risk. The red dots on the updated target maps are not just clustered around Washington, New York, or Los Angeles. They're appearing in places that never expected to be on the front line. In the Midwest, agricultural hubs tied to global grain exports have joined the list. In the South, key oil and gas infrastructure points are now marked as potential targets because crippling energy production can slow a war machine faster than destroying tanks. Even inland states that once felt comfortably distant from coastal threats are seeing risk markers appear due to the expansion of hypersonic missile capabilities, weapons that can cross continents in under 20 minutes. The new map isn't about distance anymore. In the Cold War, geography offered some comfort. If you lived far from an enemy's launch sites, you might have hours of warning, but hypersonics and modern ICBMs have erased that buffer. A strike can be launched, detected, and arrive before a national broadcast can even be prepared. That means your only real warning may come from local sirens or your own readiness. Let's talk about NATO's perspective. The alliance's own intelligence prioritizes protecting command centers, missile defense systems, and logistics hubs. These are also the very spots an adversary would want to destroy first. Cities hosting NATO exercises, regional headquarters, or even allied training facilities have quietly become more valuable targets. And as alliances deepen or shift, the risk list changes too. A city that joins a defense agreement can find itself targeted overnight. What's more troubling is the presence of secondary and tertiary target zones. These aren't hit for their own value, but as part of a chain reaction. For example, if a nearby airbase is hit, the fallout and infrastructure damage could render your area unlivable for weeks, even if no warhead ever lands there. Bridges, water plants, and major hospitals may also be indirectly affected, cutting off critical resources when you need them most. This isn't about causing panic. It's about recognizing that risk is fluid. The safe map you saw last year might already be outdated, and if you want a clearer picture, there is one map out there that almost no mainstream outlet discusses. A composite created by independent analysts, combining known missile ranges, probable strike priorities, and fallout spread models. It's far from official, but it may be closer to reality than the sanitized versions you see on the news. You've seen how targets are chosen and how the map has shifted, but now we get to the part that matters most to you. How to figure out your own risk level in under 5 minutes. This is where awareness turns into action. Start by pinpointing your exact location on a map, then draw a 50-mile radius around it. Within that circle, look for anything that fits the strategic target criteria we've discussed. Military bases, ports, major airports, energy facilities, communication hubs, or large manufacturing plants. If you find 2 or more of these within that range, your area is significantly higher risk than average. This doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be hit, but it does mean you need a realistic plan. The next step is to factor in prevailing winds. Even if you're far from a direct target, fallout patterns can carry radioactive material hundreds of miles. There are free online tools that show average wind directions for every season. Cross-reference these with known high-value target zones. If you're downwind of multiple potential strikes, fallout protection becomes your top priority. Infrastructure resilience is another overlooked factor. How quickly could your area restore power, water, and communications after a disruption? Some cities have robust emergency systems, while others could be crippled for weeks. Contact your local emergency management office, ask about their contingency plans, shelter capacities, and evacuation routes. If they can't give you a clear answer, that's a sign you'll need to prepare independently. Once you've mapped out your risks, the final step is preparation. This isn't about building an underground bunker, though if you have one, it's a bonus. It's about simple, effective measures. A supply of clean water for at least 2 weeks, non-perishable food, a battery-powered or crank radio, protective masks, and a plan for contacting loved ones without relying on cell networks. Keep these in a dedicated, accessible location. And here's where many people fail. They learn the risk, but never act on it. Information without action is just a false sense of security. The safest people aren't those who live far from the red dots on a map. They were the ones who know where those dots are, what they mean, and have a plan to adapt when the world changes overnight. Danger isn't always obvious. Sometimes it creeps closer while you're focused on the headlines, and by the time you realize it, your window to prepare has closed. Don't wait for the sirens to decide what to do next. Decide now while the choice is still yours.